We are back with the All 32 pod. Mike Giardi, Will Parkinson alongside Thursday, May 8th, about 10 o'clock in the morning. A reminder, we are a proud member of the CLNS Media Network. The show brought to you by PrizePicks, North America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Download today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 when you play 5. PrizePicks, run your game. Also, Game Time. Best tickets, best prices anywhere. Use the CLNS code. Get 20 off your first purchase. Will, before we get into let's just call them bold predictions or hot takes, way too early for the 2025-2026 season. My Boston Celtics have blown 2 straight 20-point leads. First time I believe that's ever happened in the NBA playoffs. And they got what they deserved, but the overall emotion, the ebbs and flows, pretty remarkable. Especially if you're on the Knicks side, right? Because you're happy. The Celtics are like, oh, what the hell's just happened?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of either team, to say it lightly. So I kind of want them just to take each other out here, and then whoever doesn't win, I can hate watch them next series. Nearly probably against Indiana, who might be one of those weird series where Cleveland's got such bad injury luck and Indiana's playing such good ball at the right time. The only thing that this series that's been frustrating to watch is I hate the brand of basketball the Celtics play. I know they're amazing. They're a fantastic team. They've Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals, a title, and until the Knicks put 4 forks in them, I'm not counting the Celtics out. The brand of basketball that is shoot as many threes as humanly possible, and like the Knicks brand of basketball, which is so herky-jerky, like physical, but it's not even 90s physical. It's just kind of like sometimes like sloppy. It's just been a really tough watch. The games at the end, the fourth quarters have been special, emotion and all that stuff. But it's not a fun brand about like I'm Houston and OKC Denver obviously was a blowout last night, but is a much more fun brand of basketball in my opinion. Whereas Knicks Celtics is like so much emotion that it almost feels like it's taking away some of the quality. I'm not trying to be that old man on the porch.
You're yelling at a cloud right now.
Yeah, I know. And people are like, you're an idiot, which I get it. I hate it.
No, well, it's funny. So I've had this argument with, I do the TV show at least once a week on Early Edition, and that's the Celtic station. And I had the argument with Chris Forsberg, who's an outstanding analyst, covers the Celtics. But, look, he works for the Celtics station. There's a little bit of a Homer's leaning, if you will. You don't want to be too critical. And not that he doesn't delve into it. He certainly does. I don't want to knock him for that. But, I remember at the beginning of the season when they shot whatever it was in the opener, 60-something threes, 73s, and it was the record or whatever. And it was like, well, they're built to play this way. And I'm like, they also have 3 Olympians. Jason Tatum, who is capable of making the right play. Like when he's locked in, he makes the right play almost all the time. Derek White's a right play guy. Drew Holiday is the absolute give the game what the game needs guy. Jaylen Brown was the 3rd-team All-NBA guy or 2nd team 2 years ago. And Porzingis is the unicorn. Oh, and then by the way, you added Pritchard, who's, the 6th man of the year. And it's like there's a high IQ, basketball IQ for this team. And they've been so brainwashed into this is how upper management wants them to play, right on down through the analysts to the head coach who's bought into the whole theory, that they don't adjust. It's like there was a play late. Well, there was a couple late from Tatum where he went back to being a bully, which he wasn't.
Why is he not, Mike? I texted you this, and I'm genuinely serious. I know that again. I'm going to sound like the old man on doorstep here, whatever. Jason Tatum is what? Really, he's truly probably 6'10 and a half, 6'11. He's not he's built well enough.
Mm-hmm.
OG's very well, he's the perfect defender for Tatum because he's quick enough and strong enough and just big enough and frankly stronger than Tatum is, so he can kind of keep him in front. But early in the game in those switches, Tatum doesn't go at Cat or Brunson. And dude, you don't need to settle for a 35-foot fadeaway jumper every time.
Yep.
The second to last play of the game, Tom Thibodeau should have been fired on the spot for that defense. That was horrendous. But it's oh, you can do this easily, dude.
Yeah.
What are you doing the whole game? It's it's 3 after 3. It's sometimes get somebody in foul trouble, slow the game down, and then when you start hitting those threes, you're stealing possessions. Now, Cat's off the floor for 6 minutes, and Mitchell Robinson's getting I just don't understand. I don't. Again, they're not out of it. I think they can. They smoke the next play.
Absolutely, easily capable of winning 4
They
straight.
get hot in game 3, and the series flips right back into Boston's favor. I just don't understand. It's like they're the team that's up, or the team that's losing. All year they've thrown the ball to win games, but like they have a good running game. They just don't use it because they don't have to. And it's like, okay, the passing game's not working. We're in the road on the cold, and we're on the road in a cold game in Baltimore in January. Dude, let's run the ball a little bit. Let's get back to the basics and then open the passing game back up. And they just refuse to do so. It's very frustrating to watch.
Yeah, it's it has been something that I've raged against for the last couple of years. And look, they have a title. They like, hey, we won it this way.
Shut you up, right? It's like
right. Well, it still doesn't shut me up because I still don't believe that they adjust fast enough. And I think now they're at the point where, okay, you're going to be stubborn and keep launching threes when they're not dropping, or do you want to use guys that know how to play the game and be more aggressive and get to the basket and do that sort of thing and hopefully get back into the series? So that was it. That was our it was a 5-minute basketball interlude. Now we will get into our NFL hot takes, bold predictions. Way too early. I'm sure we'll revisit this at some point, either before the start of the season or right before the start of the season. I'll let you lead off here. What do you got for me?
The Miami Dolphins will be the last place team in the AFC East. I don't know if it's the hottest take. I think people think the Jets will suck. I think people are excited about the Patriots, a bit unsure of what the Patriots will be, right? I think so you ask some Patriots fans, we're winning 11 games. We're going to be the fifth seed in the in the AFC. Other Patriots fans probably would have the more cautious approach of, hey, we're a 7 to 8 win team. I love Drake Maye, but I really haven't seen it over 17 yet. That's probably the more correct approach. But I getting excited, right? I mean, they're going to get a bump from.
It's been a good offseason. They had a good offseason. There's no knocking it.
And they upgraded a coach tremendously, and they cannot be understated. I don't know if Miami has. I don't know what they're. I don't get it. I don't know. I've gone back and forth with this. I think the roster 2 years ago was really strong. I think it was very top heavy, but really strong. And the Tua injuries sucked, and all those things. And then last year, even I felt like at a lot of moments, you're like, I see it, like I get it, but how am I supposed to trust that team in any type of adversity, especially later in the season? I think the roster is a lot worse than it was a couple of years ago. So maybe early in the season, they're not off to the hot start. And on top of that, like the Tua stuff, I think you have to. I don't think you can count on 17 consistently. And every time he's not in there, I mean, look, I'm not trying to beat up a dead horse here, but like you're picking Zach Wilson or Quinn Ewers to beat anybody right now. Probably not. And lastly, I think the Jets and Patriots will be better than people realize. I think that we got to see it first. But if you told me at the end of the year that Mike McDaniel is the worst coach in the division, wouldn't think that like it's the craziest take ever. A lot hinges on Fields and Maye and these other guys, right? But I'm not trying to be a hater here. Like I think Miami's not bad. I don't see the vision. I don't know if Jalen Ramsey's going to be on this team. I don't know if Tyreek Hill is going to be on this team. And even if they are they the same players? I don't see it. I guess I didn't love Miami's draft. Nothing about what they've done this offseason has gotten me excited for the future of the Miami Dolphins.
Well, they were one of the 3 takes that I had. And my take, I'll take it even further than what you did. Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer are going to get fired. It may happen during the season because Stephen Ross, the owner, is incredibly impatient. He's burned through coaches since he's been there. And if you look at the track record now for Miami, started off great. 2 straight postseason appearances with, Mike McDaniel building up Tua after Tua was broken down by Brian Flores. Flores, famously didn't believe in him. And McDaniel said, we're going to build everything around you. And the roster was top heavy, but it was good. I mean, they were Tyreek Hill at his powers and Jalen Waddle and Jalen Ramsey and Christian Wilkins.
Most was a 20 touchdown scorer.
Yeah. Unbelievable, right? Like, so totally stacked, explosive, dangerous. And then we found out that, like a lot of other Miami Dolphins teams, when it gets to be December or January and you have to play in sub 40-degree temperatures, they weren't built for that. That speed, that timing offense didn't travel. They ran it back a second year, didn't travel. Last year, big step back, don't make the postseason. You mentioned the Tua thing. Look, it's every year. It's going to be a concern. And I don't know if you've seen photos of Tua this offseason. So he went from I'm going to protect myself and learn the jujitsu or whatever it was. And he got a little bigger because he wanted to be able to absorb the contact.
And it
Then
worked.
he got skinnier. Now he's bigger. And it doesn't look like it's jujitsu that he's been practicing. It looks like he's been at the all-you-can-eat buffet. Look, it's still early. He could shave all that weight off. He could show up in training camp and look like the Tua that you've come accustomed to. But I don't like the way it's trending. The Ramsey thing looks like it's going to get settled before camp. It looks like they're going to dump him. It feels like the Rams are going to be the ones that reunite with him. And Tyreek Hill, who had a wrist surgery, just did a media availability in which he talked about the 5 best quarterbacks in the league. Guess who he didn't put on the 5 best quarterbacks in the league?
Zach Wilson again.
Tua, by the way, the same guy that he said was better than Patrick Mahomes when he left Kansas City. So, like, he wants out. The whole flirtation and with the social media and I know I'm in, I'm out. No, he wants out. And they should get him out. Just, you know what? If we're gonna suck, let's suck with our guys. He's not one of our guys. He's not a foxhole guy. He quit on that football team last year. Somehow that really still didn't get nearly enough attention. So to me, I think when you combine that with Greer's weird draft, don't make much sense of it.
Yep.
I think this roster is headed for hell. I don't think Mike McDaniel's the guy that can pull them out of it. And I think I would not be surprised if at 1-6 or something early in the year, Stephen Ross comes in and goes, you get the hell out. We're starting from scratch.
I'm gonna do. I have 4 total since we had the similar one. I'll use these 2 combined. I think the Rams are the best team in the NFC. I think they will be the 1 seed in the NFC. And secondly, I think the Dallas Cowboys will win the NFC East.
Oh, that is a bold one.
I think there's so much. I'll start with the Rams one. And again, this could change, right? Obviously, we're in May. This is what we do in May.
Yes.
Rookie mini camp later. There's not much. I think the Rams had a really strong draft.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they added to places they needed to add to. To your point, think they will end up adding Jalen Ramsey, which, again, I think they'll play him the way he should be played at this point in his career, is kind of that nickel safety guy in the box. I think he just I think he's going to raise the level of those young guys that are in that defense. That Jared Verse in year 2 might win Defensive Player of the Year. If he finishes half the tackles he should have last year, he's finishing with 12 to 15 sacks. I don't know if you saw the video, Mike. There's a video of Verse deadlifting, and I mean the amount of trash talk is unbelievable. But I got excited watching that. I'm like, this dude's coming off a year where they were the only team that pushed the Eagles, and I felt like this way with the Lions, and I know the Rams got off to a slower start last year, but I do feel like this is the year it all clicks again. Similar to the Devontae thing is big. Like Puka was hurt all year. Kyron fumbled the entire year. There's something about this Rams team that's really good on paper. And I think this is, if they win it all this year or whatever, Stafford's probably done after this year. I think this is like a one last, let's go one more time for it. And the Cowboys thing is this. The Eagles are amazing, but I think they're going to be in that malaise similar to 2 years ago where they're a playoff team for sure. And I think Washington might be a playoff team also. But Dallas feels like a team who we give them zero credit, zero love, deserved, by the way. But I don't love Pickens, but I think he's perfect for what they want, is somebody to open up a lot of the field for CeeDee Lamb. And if Dak loves to throw that go ball, you saw Gallup, guys like that have success in that offense. Schottenheimer is going to do a much better job of being more balanced. I think they'll run the ball more. That offensive line should be better. That defense, we talked about this last time, should be so much better than it was last year.
Yep.
Just based on guys being available. I mean, they lost Micah and Overshawn and all these different guys, and I don't think the Cowboys are winning the Super Bowl at all. But if you told me this whole division beats up on each other more than they did last year, the Giants won't be as bad. I think they'll steal 1 or 2, at Washington or, probably not against Philly or Dallas, but maybe they steal 1 or 2 from Washington and Washington steals 1 from Philly and the whole thing. If Dallas won this division at 11-6, and they probably get bounced in the first round, but those 2 things to me feel like we're not talking enough about the Rams. And I feel like Dallas, we talk so much about these other teams. Dallas, Dak was out almost all year last year. When Dak's healthy, they usually win the division. It's just kind of the way it works.
Yeah, my only pushback against that would just be what's Schottenheimer as a head coach. I think I agree with you what you're saying offensively, and I think it will make them more balanced. I wonder if we'll see. We'll see if he has the right touch. I wonder, too, if the NFC East this year is the same as the NFC North last year, where 3 really good teams at the top. And
Minnesota, right?
Yeah, and Chicago was frisky, at points during the season, even though they went through their coaching change and whatnot, because there was some talent on that football team. I'll give you mine. The Pittsburgh Steelers finished sub 500 for the first time in the Mike Tomlin era. 18 straight 500-plus seasons for Tomlin, 12 playoff appearances, 7 division titles, 3 AFC title game appearances, 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 Super Bowl victory. He has managed with some really bad roster / quarterback play. Don't forget the Duck Hodges, Mason Rudolph, that whole – who was the other? There was the third quarterback in there. Whatever. It was all garbage. And somehow they managed to go 9-8 or 8-8 or whatever it was. But I think this year, right now, their depth chart at quarterback. We expect it to change. We expect Aaron Rodgers will be their quarterback. But right now, it's Mason Rudolph, Skylar Thompson, and Will Howard. You're not winning a lot of games with that. I don't care if Caleb Johnson, their second-round pick, rushes for 1,500 yards. That is not a good path for success at quarterback. And then I also look at the aging defense. I mean, when's Cam Hayward gonna, he's not the same, but he's still good. Is this the year finally? TJ Watt, the injuries built up the second half of last season. He wasn't very good. We talked numerous times about maybe they would be smart to move off him at this point. And again, they still could maybe because the contract is not figured out there. Minkah Fitzpatrick, who fell off a cliff last year and was apparently a problem in the locker room as well. So to me, it just feels like there's not enough talent there.
There's always a cliff.
Yeah, the talent's a little older. And he's done a great job of Tomlin of holding this together, but it feels like this might be finally the time. And even if Rodgers comes, you don't know what, is he committed? You just lived this life for the last 2 years. I can't bank on Aaron Rodgers to be good enough to elevate what I think is a meh team talent wise.
Yeah. This is a weird example, but I feel like we always relate it back to the Jets or the Pats. 2022, it felt like the cliff finally happened, right? It was 2022 because 2021 was the big free agent spending max rookie year. 2022, the cliff happened for the Patriots, where it was like, oh no, this defense is now just old. It's good, but it can't stop the top teams anymore. It's more of it eat feast on Zach Wilson and Skylar Thompson and those guys. And then the offense couldn't overcome just what ended up happening, the lack of talent, and Bill looked mortal for the first time in 20 years. I wonder if that's this year for the Steelers as well. You could talk me into they go 9-8 or 10-7, they go to the Buffalo Invitational and they get smoked. But I also could be talked into, I just don't think they're anywhere near as good as Baltimore. I think Cincinnati's probably better.
Yeah.
And I don't think Cleveland, while I think Cleveland will be bad, I think they would give a team like the Steelers, as they did last year, problems. I don't think they're good enough to beat, I don't know, the Jets play the Steelers at home, and if it's Mason Rudolph, why am I picking the Steelers? And I'm not saying the Jets are good, but why am I picking the Steelers in that game? Just off legacy? I don't know if that's the way to really smartly analyze games. So that'll lead me to my last one here.
Because let me hold. We got to read. Let me
read. My worst trait.
So as we know, we were talking as we begin the show with a brief interlude about basketball, the basketball playoffs. If you want to get involved in fantasy sports and you want to get involved with all the playoffs that are going on, hockey playoffs, basketball playoffs, of course, there's also the baseball season in full swing. Just get involved with PrizePicks. Real money sports action, over 10 million members, billions of dollars in award winnings. They've made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players, up to 6, for your shot to win 2,000. That's right, 2,000 times your cash. Multiple ways to get involved and do this, multiple ways to cross sports. If you think, for instance, that Jason Tatum is going to bounce back after 2 terrible games. Go look at the numbers for game 3. Take more points, rebounds, and assists, do all that thing. Again, you can cross sports and make that available to you as well. So just download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 off instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 off instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, go ahead.
Look,
how do you get that in there?
We talked about this before we recorded. Knicks Celtics tickets, speaking of our sponsor. This is not from our sponsor, so use them instead. Mike, courtside Knicks Celtics tickets Saturday afternoon, Madison Square Garden, biggest Knicks game in 20 plus years at the Garden. They've been further, obviously, in a series in the second round, but $52,000 including fees. I think it's like higher than the U.S. median income. There's plenty of jokes that are off color that I'm not going to say on here, but it is quite funny. My last hot take, and again, I'm playing to the crowd of mainly our listeners, a lot of Jets and Patriots people. One of Mike Vrabel or Aaron Glenn will win Coach of the Year.
Ooh, I like it.
If the Patriots win 10 games, Mike Vrabel should be minus 5,000 to win Coach of the Year. If the Jets win 9 games and make the playoffs ending a drought, you're telling me that a guy who's taken a franchise out of the dumpster, even if just for a playoff appearance, I liked both those hires better than Ben Johnson. Usually it's the first-year guy that makes their team take a jump. It just feels like one of those two teams will end up being the 7 seed. I don't know. It's going to be a lot of quarterback play, health, coaching, luck, special teams, everything like that. And those two matchups against each other. And again, I know people are going to be like, oh, the Jets are terrible and all that stuff. I'm just telling you how things work. Like last year, they were an 11-win team on paper going into the season, and they had the worst coach and one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. Like, if they get any type of semblance of health. So both those guys, I think, are going to change the cultures, and I think they're going to be they're very public faces. The media knows them well, from their time playing and, Mike's kind of time last year or so, out of football or in football, but out of football a little bit. I just think there'll be a big story around these two huge markets with former franchise legends as their head coaches and two teams that sucked last year. The momentum for one of those guys to win Coach of the Year feels so strong that whatever team ends up second in the division, based on what we just predicted, I think will end up being Coach of the Year.
I love that. I'd look at odds for that one. It's funny. I was going to include this one, and it kind of finished just on the outside looking in. But now that you mention it, I'll drop it in here. I was looking at Mac Jones's numbers, his rookie season with Josh McDaniels. 23 touchdowns. He was either 12 or 14 interceptions. We know Mac, not the biggest arm, not the best athlete, especially when you compare him to the guy that's now playing quarterback for the Patriots.
You refer to that as a pop gun arm?
Yes, the pop gun arm. I think Drake Maye goes north of 4,000 yards passing without any problem, and I think he goes 30 to 32 touchdown passes this year. I think they're going to be balanced because Josh wants to run the ball, but Josh has always been real creative in the red area with some of the passing game stuff. And look, Stephon Diggs, if you look at the videos of him working out, it's absurd. Like, I don't even remember. He looks like he's ahead of schedule. I wasn't buying it. I still need to see it to believe it.
You want to see a full contact scrimmage where you got to land and you got to
exactly.
Trust workout wise, he looks very good.
Yeah, it's like a little bit. Even Patriot players are kind of like, it must be nice to be able to be looking like this 6 months after ACL surgery. So I just have this feeling that the McDaniels-May pairing is going to be beautiful, and it's going to result in a lot of touchdown passes for Drake Maye. So I had to throw that in there as you bring it up. My last one. I think Kevin O'Connell's as good an offensive mind as there is in football. And as such, I think J.J. McCarthy, who, again, hasn't played a single game in the NFL and got hurt in August, I think J.J. McCarthy is going to rival Sam Darnold's numbers from last year.
How dare you speak about my prince, Sam Darnold?
Yeah, so I looked it up. Darnold was 4,300 yards passing, 35 touchdowns, 66% completion rate, and a 102.5 rating. I'm going to roughly guess McCarthy 38 to 3,900 yards, 28 TDs, 65-ish completion percentage, and a quarterback rating of around 98. And I think McCarthy is a very talented kid. And like the more I watched him last year leading into the process, the more I was sold on this guy's going to be something pretty good at the NFL level. But I just think the marriage of O'Connell, and now you hear the way the Minnesota players are talking about him, the way O'Connell's talking about him, the way McCarthy's talking himself. Like, I know, again, it's only May, so like they haven't done anything real yet. But I just have a feeling that O'Connell's going to be able to utilize his strengths, put him in the best position possible, just like he did with Sam Darnold last year. He doesn't have the same throwing ability that Darnold does. Quite frankly, very few guys do. But I think they'll limit the mistakes, and I think J.J. McCarthy and the Minnesota Vikings are going to be a good team. Not 14 wins, but I think they're going to the playoffs, even with a rough schedule. I think a 10-7 gets you into the postseason. 11-6 certainly gets you into the postseason. And I think J.J. McCarthy, thanks to Kevin O'Connell, are going to have the Vikings right there.
Yeah, I mean, he did. It was unfortunate he wasn't just the backup last year, in terms of like just practice reps and stuff like that. But in the meetings, being around KOC and like having a year to digest, and like there won't be early on, there'll be excitement, not as much like angst, and things of that nature. No, I like it. We'll save plenty more for, when we get into camp and preview. Guys, comment below if there's people you want to hear on the show, if there's segments you guys really like, other than not liking my face or me wearing a hat.
They don't like my face either.
Yeah, but if there's things you guys want to see more of, either guests or segments we do or things you want to, hear detail on, let us know. We want to make sure the show is as enjoyable for you guys as possible. And again, you guys have been great with the support. The numbers from when we started to now are 10x, which is amazing. But, obviously want to keep growing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I second everything you just said there. You guys have been awesome. Even the ones that come in there and troll and tell us that we suck.
Guys, you're as useless as your backwards hat. I'm like, dude, that's my thing.
Hey, that was actually me. I'm sorry. That was me. I'm sorry. That was my other account. I didn't mean to.
I was like, thanks, man. Like, I appreciate it.
I know someone took a shot at me, and I was like, I responded back. I'm like, if you hit me with snark, I'm going to hit you with snark right back. Yeah. That's just how this works. Before we get out of here, just a reminder, as Will was saying, and we thank you again for your support. Spread the word, please. Help us continue to grow this thing. We love doing this show for you guys. But for those listening to the show, we ask you to subscribe to the podcast, like and leave a review. Those are important to us. And for those watching the show on CLNS, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to the Patriots Press Pass YouTube channel, where you can find our show and a lot of other great Patriots and NFL content. Also, please make sure to turn on your notifications so you know the instant a new video drops. I have a lot of writing to do this weekend. Rookie minicamp for the Patriots is on Friday. That'll start. We'll get a look. I believe we're going indoors because the weather is not supposed to be good, which is rare. Belichick never used the indoor facility. It's also just a hideous indoor facility that's about like 40 yards long. I've seen college programs with better, so they might want to get on that. But you've got better plans than I do. I'll let you reveal that later.
Yeah, we got some exciting golf.
Just don't embarrass yourself too much.
No, I might just start betting $50 a hole and just like. No, I'm just kidding. I would never do that. I would never.
Don't do that, because the people that you're playing with have significant
more money than I do. Unless you guys want to get us, send us some money if you really want to $50 a hole.
All right, that's going to wrap up this edition of the All 32 Pod. Have a great 3 days here, and we will see you again on Monday.